That'll do good enough. Where's my shit at? There we go. Dr. Sinister, welcome. Where we at? Where we at? Where's everything at? We want to raise some high vibrations tonight, so we need all the stuff to get them vibrations. Oh, Lorenzo, what is happening, Lorenzo? All right, let's get it going. To the east, to the north, to the west, to the south, above, below, the center. Send out them grounding energies like Sly Stone. Can we take you higher? And let me hit you with the perfect fifth. Those sounds go deep. Well, welcome to the Chocolate Mountain Show. Guess I should introduce myself. I go by the handle of Big Pontiac. I am the holder of the infinite sacred ball game created by the Hero Twins, and I am also your one and only Galactic Daddy-O, welcoming each and every one of you to Big Eagle Mountain, which is also my galactic patio that reaches from here to the universe. So welcome. Thank you all for joining me. And tonight's highlight is Larry Bell's beer, Kalamazoo Stout. So pop 'em if you got 'em. And let me take a quick break to get this going. One ringy dingy. There we go. All right, pop 'em if you got 'em. All right. And I have a couple stories about this beer. This beer comes from Kalamazoo, and it tells you how impressive this beer is that it even makes it over here. Because y'all don't know how many beers. I mean, Wisconsin is beer heaven. Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin is beer heaven. They make Miller beer in Wisconsin, Leinenkugel, but so Wisconsin is the beer capital, and for this beer to make it in Wisconsin is it shows you the power of this beer. And I told you the story back in. I still had my Plymouth. What was that car called? Plymouth. It was a Mitsubishi, but it was called Plymouth Colt 4-door. Not the kind with the hatchback, but the 4-door side. It was 5-speed, really fun car to drive. Yeah, it was that long ago, so it must have been 86, 85, or 86. Whenever he opened up, I don't even know if he has a year that he opened up. Let me see. What year did Larry open up? Is it on here? It is not. But anyway, I knew it was a brewery, and I used to go visit it. Oh, and smoke them if you want them. Whoa. Well. Oh, shit. So, So I'm hustling really good. Life is good. Driving a new car. Uh, the Kalamazoo Brewery opens up. The brewery opens up. Start going there, getting cases every week. I was curious myself how to brew beer. So he was used to seeing me because every Friday, Saturday, I'm going in there getting a case for the week. And I just like asked him to give me an application. So he gave it to me. Again, I didn't need the job. I just wanted to learn how to do what they did. So I took his application, I balled it in my back pocket and put it in there. And I didn't really, I thought back later how he looked at it. So when I turned it in, it's like I never got a chance to learn how to brew beer through him. So, so I turned my application. He remembered because again, I didn't need the job. I just wanted to learn how to do the business. My second story of Bell Brewery is um, I was doing forklift somewhere and I worked with one of my buddies. The company was kind of dying, going out of business, but they were still trying to get this last little money out of their product. So me and him was kicking it and he was like, "How do you operate this?" So I like put him on it and showed him how to operate it. Saw him years later. He works for Bell B. He works for them and because they're actually located in Comstock, not Kalamazoo. So my boy Roscoe. So first thing first, what do you think about that race baiting women's national championship? Yeah, it was all that. If you really looked at South Carolina against Iowa, what do you think you were seeing? You were seeing that same thing. But as I called it earlier, if you missed you must miss my earlier show. As I called it earlier, the referees were the deciding factor in that game. I mean, the way they ref the game from beginning to end dictated the way the game was played. Because from early on, it was pretty much you could see that all touch fouls was going to be called against Iowa. Their big girl, all them fouls was touch fouls. And we saw that the way Catlin was going to be guarded. Hand checking was going to be allowed. And what did we see? She was able to be hand checked, but if she disengaged from that hand check, they called the foul on her. You can't put your hand on anybody in college. That's a foul. Now, I'll tell you how it's even evolved. When they took away the hand check in the high school, college, they were saying you could do this for years. You could just put that elbow. They've kind of kind of transitioned that. So you can kind of put your hand on somebody's back as you're guarding in the post. Out front, you ain't supposed to be able to steer people out front. Out front, there's no contact allowed. Yet we saw her constantly hand checked. If you looked at her third foul, I mentioned this a couple times earlier. If you looked at her third foul, you saw she was hand checked and then used the elbow to get separation from being hand checked. What is that? What is that? How is that consistency? So, what you saw their whole team hand checking. Anytime any of their players made a move to the basket, you saw contact. We go to the other end, the least contact was called. The least contact was called. So that to me ruined a lot of the game because they had such a big and they didn't even a lot of times they didn't even try to hide it. Like there was no hiding what their agenda was. So, I mean, you can't win when you have to play them too. Now all of them know the game is fixed, but I don't think what I don't think Iowa understood was they couldn't keep the game close. Because a close game, I think Iowa would have beat them in a close game. The game wasn't really close. And they called it enough to keep it a nice little lead. Because that's how they control games is let's get a big lead. And then to say they got tired when they was trying to come back. So I'll even go over my notes. Uh, okay. And as I said before, when she was given her third foul, her fourth foul being the technical, that was bullshit. That was straight bullshit. Because the only thing she did, again, when you have three referees and she took the ball and threw it behind her back, it wasn't like she did not throw it to the nearest referee. She threw it out of bounds. And not in a way where she was mad. It wasn't that. Because if you look at the three referees, more than likely on most plays, a referee is right there on the baseline, ready to take the ball out. That's the way it's played. The call is made. You see, they gathered everybody and paused. She threw the ball out of bounds where the referee was going to take the ball. And all that she really could be called for was delay a game. That's all she could be called for. It's no way that should have ever in any basketball, any level of basketball, it's no way any of that should have been called anything other than delay a game. And delay a game is a team foul. So we know that the referee in the earbuds, they told her to tech her. And that's clearly a delay of game. And that play right there, which was over the top fixed, was the most ridiculous play of the game. Because it was clearly a delay of game is just a warning. When do you ever see someone get tech for a delay of game? Unless it's their second delay of game, which it was not at that point. I mean, that was just obviously horrible officiating on a national level. But again, remember, what did they push? All women crew. So now all the women can be criticized. As another aspect. The women should be heavily criticized the way they ref that game. Like almost penalized. They were so bad. That call on her, a kindergarten referee wouldn't have called that on her. That call, more than any call during the game, showed that the game was truly scripted in almost a wrestling type of way. It was like they weren't taking any chances. They wanted to put all the stress on her to make her not play good. Now, she had to follow the script, but she didn't quite understand it. You could see that. She's used to following the script, but she didn't really understand the script. Kaplan didn't. Because it was called so differently that the script has been called for her forever. She's lost before in the Final Four. She lost last year. So you can see the frustration on having to fight the refs and having to fight the other team. So that was a big now the other part of the script was the Steph Curry treatment. This is a team that really didn't shoot. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't do any more work. But just going from the one girl who made the first three, and I don't know if it was the girl with the red head. I think it was the other guard, who they said was 4 for 22 before, and I think she made 2. She was a darker haired girl. So she was the one, and I misspoke earlier. She was the one that they said she was 4 for 22, and she made 2 in the first half. Now, as a team, they weren't a heavily three-shooting team. And they shot 57% in the first half. 1 out of 2. And they made 9 threes. They made 9 threes. They only shot 2 threes in the third quarter. Why is that? You shot at least 15 threes in the first half. But in the third quarter, the main thing that you got the lead on, you don't shoot. Well, what sense does that make? Tell me that makes sense. You would come out firing them 3 still to gain a greater lead. So, didn't do that. Fourth quarter, they went 2 for 2 with the last 3 really didn't make a difference. They went 2 for 2 in the fourth quarter. So, in a total of the second half, they only shot 4. And the game before, they said the game before, the semifinal game, they said they only shot something like less than 4 to 8 shots, 4 to 8 threes the whole game. I think it was 9 threes the whole game. And if somebody remembers this, they threw that stat out there. Why? I mean, this makes no sense. The one girl can't shoot, and yet she consistently hits 2. Another girl went 5 for 5, hitting 4 threes and one. This is not what got them there. But yet, this is what that won the game. So, yeah, it was like the coach that had won it 3 times previously as a player, Olympic medal winning coach, and then they said turnaround for the ages. That was something else too. Most points scored in the game, her 4th title, and I'm sure my gematria people can jump on that. So that was my and let me see what have I missed here. Okay, refs. refs and team versus Hawks. Catelyn got shamed. I don't know if she got shamed. I just think I thought it was so wrong the way they refed her. They let a physicality go that shouldn't have been allowed. I mean that physicality was really bogus that they let because that was all they could do. That was the only thing they could do to contain her. His hand check and hold. She was hand checking held the whole game, and that's what they did. And then this is why I'm saying how the script was set up without her knowing. So they was going. So the refs put it in there when they scouted. They say, look, if she gets held, she's going to push off with her elbow. This is how scouting goes off. So the team says, we'll hold her. And if they don't call to hold her, we'll get charged. We'll get a player control foul because she'll push off when she gets held. And refs are told, well, if she pushes off, we want to call that. But on the other part is if she gets held because she pushes off because she gets held. So do you see how they script it? They wouldn't call her being held, but yet they would call her pushing off. Both times they called a foul on her for that. It was the same thing. I was surprised they did the slow motion because when they cut into her being held by the other girl. The other girl's holding her to stay with her, and then the other girl is contacting and she pushes off to get the other girl from holding her. So you can't tell me if that's allowed. And what the other part is when they're pushing and holding you like that wears you down, makes you tired. And you can't say in the second half that she was going to the line a lot because she really wasn't. First half, but not the second half. So that was bad. That was bad. You think, okay, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? If you've ever listened to any of my work, you're asking a question, you already know the answer. Okay, why would you ask me something when it's easily to look at any of my work and that answer is already there for you? So why would you even ask that question? You wouldn't come to my channel and ask that question if you was sincere. You already know the answer. I don't think that. I don't believe that. This is something I know. I know that there's a technology used in the flight and movement of the ball. So why would you ask that? It's not only in basketball, it's also in football, hockey. We know it's in golf. I mean, right now, you can go on Amazon and get a retrievable ball. Anybody. You can get a retrievable ball on Amazon. This is, matter of fact, retrievable balls, we're probably, 10 generations of retrievable balls? The technology is so much better. You just, your cell phone, bring your ball back. You get them retrievable balls, you program it with your cell phone, you'll bring it back from the rough. Ball jump out. So you've had to know. Delay of warning. Yeah, absolutely. Delay of game. That is all it is. First time. If it's the first time, that's all it is. Delay a game. It's no way you jump to attack when you have not given them any other warning for delay a game. She didn't throw the ball in frustration. She put the ball where she figured it was going out. That's why she threw it behind her back. And that's where they took it out after the technical. Well, the technical might have made them change the position, so I could be wrong on that. Don't quite remember where they took it out. But that is no way should have ever been called. You just 2 weeks ago. Okay. Hey, Tiger Strong, thank you for joining. And DSM 515, thank you for joining. Well, I'm going to just say this. Just go back and look at the other work. That's all. And you make your own opinion. I'm not here to I just show in instances where it does seem like something is used. So, and I can almost, not even almost, I can go back to history and say where the system started too. And I've just discovered, another history thing where a part of it started that I've missed all these years. So kind of working on that. Couple things. So yeah, simply almost every ball except baseballs have some kind of control. Hockey, puck has a control. The Zach Hubbard, if Zach Hubbard or any of his people are listening, he did one of his channels that they erased. He found one of the best hockey things ever. And this hockey play was this. This hockey play What they showed is you saw the Goldie standing in the middle by himself. The puck comes to his right and hits the board. He doesn't have to make any adjustment other than he's looking to the side. So again, picture what I'm telling you. It's just the Goldie, and the puck hits to his right. Don't you know the puck comes all the way around him and jets into the net? Which is an impossibility if it was moving by itself. And I know if Zach Hubbard or any of his people are listening, he remembers that he had that. He caught that. It literally goes all the way around the Goldie and dashes behind him when there was no momentum to make it go forward again. Once it hit off the board, there was nothing that could make that puck go forward. It should have ricocheted and damn near hit the other side of the boards. No, doesn't do that. It circles the Goldie and shoots on his side. So that's truly controlled. In golf, you can find so many where the ball is boom, boom, just stops. Is that how momentum works on a grass court? On a grass on a grass course, where the ball's gonna bounce, and just dies. Not rolls for a little bit, just boom, boom, no boom. Or just boom, boom, roll. So they've been able to control all of this. And let's look at, Beckham. And as I, have made popular on YouTube, the grip gloves. And Beckham was the one that made it popular. In the same way that he made grip gloves popular and made his career blow up, they went after him because he did something they didn't like. And he's been suffering ever since. They destroyed his ankle in a preseason game. On my other channel, I had the video of that. There's no reason in a preseason game that you, as a union member, even though you're trying out for the team, you're paying union dues, you're in the union, that you would destroy another player's ankle in preseason, that you would go low on him. Because he went low, and you could see it was on purpose. He went low and destroyed his ankle for that season. And he's had injury after injury ever since then. And that was sending him a message. I doubt he got hurt in the Super Bowl. I doubt that when he played in the Super Bowl, got the touchdown, and then he was hurt the rest of the game. That just seemed to me too obvious. So we look at the Chicago Bear kicker that was able to hit the post 5 times in a row. Now, do we think that the kicker is that accurate, that he can kick the ball in the post and hit 5 times in a row? Do you think he's that accurate? Do you think it's common that any player can just, now it's easy, we do so much practice that now it's anybody can just catch with one hand. They ain't even got to look it in. Just stick your hand out. That's all you got to do is just stick your hand. The gloves are so good and everything, you just stick your hand out. I was taught you look the ball in. You caught the ball with your eyes. You looked the ball in, brought it in. You worried about who's coming later. I mean, you could always look around, but when it came to the catch, there was nothing more important than the catch. So, yes, buddy, the magnetic thing is part of it too. Roman Reigns still WWF champ. Oh, you ain't gotta agree. Just soak it in. That's all. Of course they use magnets. AOTF. Red, white, and blue. Most used colors. Red equals earth, white equals sun, blue equals sky. Right on. Thank you for adding that. DSM 515. They should have let Dusty Rhodes' son win the belt. I don't know who that is. Union Iron Worker, right on. That's what they were when they worked at GM or Fisher Body. I don't know who has less class, Catlin or Angel Reese. Catlin does the "you can't see me" to her opponents, and Angel did the same thing, but it was Angel tried to agitate her. Yeah. You think Brian winning? No, I think it's the mountain is too high. Oh, did y'all see Bronny is going to Penn State? Did y'all catch that? That Bronny is going to sign with Penn State, which is not a bad move to play in the Big Ten. He's going to play with some good competition. Definitely television rights. He's going to be on the East Coast. Not a bad move. Not a bad move. Still in the Midwest. Not that far from Ohio, where the family was based. So good move for him. Because let's look at Penn State. The coach just left, and he already straight up said he didn't like the other coach. The coach just left. But if you looked at what dominated the Big Ten, 6'5" dudes, about 6'3.5", 6'4" dude dominated at Penn State. Bronny could step in to do the same thing. To have probably he's stepping in a nice situation. He's depending on how much they lose, but it looks like he's stepping in a good situation. So what is he saying? He's going to the FBI school. He's going to the FBI school. That's funny. That is definitely funny. That is definitely funny. But yeah, that's where he's going. He's Penn State. Now, I don't know. I posted on my other thing that Wabanayo, the big French boy, that there is a way that he can get out of being drafted if he doesn't declare. If he doesn't declare, and like I mentioned before, the NFL can trade with Canada. And now, so what the article I showed and what it proposed is there's a way you can almost make a trade for them, compensate them later with players. You can trade with a French team. There is agreement called some kind of convention where in Europe they agree to honor contracts. It was like France, England, and the United States agree to honor contracts. And so this way he can get out of not being drafted, because that young boy already signed for $242 million with the French club, who the French club can't pay that money. So it looks very likely he might be able to just step into playing for the team that is them people's teams, the CIA's team. Bonnie going to Penn State. Yeah, Bonnie is going to Penn State. That's who he on his Instagram or whatever. That's who he said that he was going. He was going to Penn State. So, which is a solid. The conference is solid. And I don't know what Howard is doing up in Michigan. The big guy, which like Tony, my best friend, he went to Michigan. That's his school. Howard's been there. He has not been able to get guards. That's been his Achilles, his guards. He has not been able to get effective guards. This year, he didn't hardly put anything around that guy. So I don't blame that guy for leaving. He didn't put anything around him. So I don't blame the guy for leaving. So we'll see. We'll see how long. But him and Gil going into the Big Ten, Indiana really had a good team. They really had a good team. So, yeah, I think Bronny is stepping into a good situation. They staying in the Midwest where he still got family. I think LeBron and them still got some kind of residence in Ohio. So, and he's on the coast pretty much, close to the coast. All his games will be televised, of course. The Big Ten has their own network. So, I think it's a good spot for him. I do. Daryl Jones, welcome. You say Juwan Howard has ruined a good program. I would say a struggling program where he put a lot of enthusiasm in it, but his actions have kind of ruined some of that enthusiasm. His relationships, it appears, with different coaches seems to be soured because, again, he is being ignored when it comes to guards. He just has not been able to have a relationship with any guard, to bring any guards in there. Even his transfers have been flopped. The one boy he brought in, he went and played better guard for somebody else. Who was the transfer that played good this year, that played in Michigan, and he played better? He played like a good guard when he transferred, but he could not play good guard for Michigan. So that's been his Achilles heel, is getting good guards. So that might be why he ends up losing his spot. But sometimes them jobs can be lifetime. So we'll see. A lot of movement. It's interesting. Like I mentioned, the Bronny wasn't going to play for the dude who just left Penn State. That brother, because it was a brother. Bronny didn't like him, and that's what the article said. The article said Bronny didn't like that dude, but the new guy they brought in, Bronny liked. So that is interesting. And I would dare say it probably wouldn't hurt him to play a year or two. I think time would really be on his side. because at that size to get stronger, again, the runs and whatever the agenda is. But sometimes college is a good way to really work on your game. Work on your game because again, well, with the All Star games and stuff, you playing about 30 games, and college plays but maybe 37 when you come to the championship. So they're playing about the same amount of games. In the NBA, you playing 80 games, so it's a big jump. You're playing almost 2 seasons worth of games as far as what your experience has had. So it doesn't hurt to go through that 2 seasons. It doesn't hurt, but we'll see what he does and what their agenda is. They had Zeb Jackson and Frankie Collins, and then they transferred. Okay, okay. Who was their main scorer? Because they had one dude. He put it on the Gophers. I thought the Gophers had two dudes transferred out, but I think Dawson is still going to stay there. Dawson Garcia. I'm sure Dawson Garcia didn't lose the COVID year. Pretty sure. As I've said before, Dawson, I've known him since he was in high school, and his parents both were sick during COVID, and I really don't know their situation. So I'm pretty sure Dawson still probably has 2 years after this year of eligibility. So far as I know, he's staying because he's already transferred twice. Something about the Big Ten schools to see where they don't want them winning the national championship. At least it's more popular schools in football and basketball. Well, what was the last Big Ten school to win it? State? Damn, yeah. Last Big Ten school to win it. Was that Michigan State in '03? Has a Big Ten school won it since Michigan State in '03? Who? The Center Dickinson from Michigan. Interesting. Yeah, he left. That big dude just got in the transfer portal, if you guys didn't know. He left. Which, Tony was a little hurt about that. My best friend Tony, he was a little hurt, but I was like, hey, they didn't win with him. They didn't win with him. So what is they really hurting about? So Howard just needs to, if you are not recruiting staff, hey, PJ Allen, what's happening? Okay, so the last national championship was 2014 Ohio State in football, and that was Elliott. So hoops though. Hoops, I don't think the last hoop team was Michigan State in '03. Yeah, the last hoops. I don't No other Big 10 school has won it since Michigan State in '03. And that's just off the top of my mind. I can't think of, when they had Michigan State got screwed in 13 when they played Louisville. Yeah, good point, Daryl. Good point. That's a good point. And Michigan State, I said one time they was the 1 or 2 and lost to this sorry team. Team was taking them to the hoop and they wasn't blocking the shot. And then they played the very next team and all them shots they was trying to go to the hoop, them lames that was from one of the mid majors, that shit was getting blocked. So it was like, wait, you telling me Michigan State couldn't have blocked them shots that the other team did? State in 2000. Yeah, State was the last one. Yeah. It's a player, what is his name, that played on that team? He was from Flint. Remember, it was the Flintstones. It was my boy Suge that played with the Vikings. His little brother played in that team. He was a Smith. And then it was what was his name? It was three of the brothers from Flint. They was called the Flintstones. And before Flint had the water problem, Flint was had one of the biggest General Motors plants. And Michael Moore does an excellent show to show you what they did to that Flint motor plant and what it did to Flint. Flint was a beautiful city. But any name, Cleaves, Martine Cleaves. Martine Cleaves. Let me tell you, y'all don't remember how good a high school player this dude was. When Cleaves won the championship, people forget he played most of that season with a broken foot. So when he went into the NBA, he's still dealing with broken feet issues. So I don't think he ever recovered. People don't realize that Cleaves was damn near Iverson. Cleaves was a all-state quarterback, and I think he was all-American quarterback too, that could have played quarterback in college. Bigger than Iverson, stronger than Iverson with the same kind of shiftiness. And we really never got to see him because I think when he broke his foot at State, he played. He played. Remember, he had broke his foot during their championship, and he played, and that probably hampered his career. But that dude in high school was that dude. Martine Cleaves was great. He was a great athlete. He was a great football player. I mean, most people thought he was going to play football because the guy was what, 6'2.5", 6'3"? So he was easily NFL quarterback where Iverson really wasn't, other than speed. He would have been more like Murray, like Tyler Murray. Kyler Murray. Is Iverson Kyler Murray? I think Iverson was better. Iverson is probably the one dude that could have played pro quarterback. Iverson would have been very close to Michael Vick. And again, they're both the same size. I would say Iverson was more shiftier even than Vick and just as fast. Iverson could have played football, but so could Cleaves. Cleaves could have played it too. So people forget that. People forget it. But that was a good team. My man Smith, the Suge's little brother Smith, his brother played for the Vikings. Suge. Yeah, Martine Cleaves also went to Michigan State. He went to State. Now, Andre Smith, yeah, right there. Andre Smith is Suge's little brother. They all from Flint. And there's like 3 or 4 of them Smith boys, but that's Suge's little brother. Andre's brother played for the Vikings. You can look that up. He played with Randy Moss. Yeah, Morris Peterson. These was the Flintstones. These was the Flintstones. And I was saying earlier, what they did to Flint is hard times and drug addiction hit Flint and unemployment. The way they combated it to try to keep children out of trouble, they didn't put in leagues, but what they did is they opened all the gyms. And so what the community did is in the summertime, they tried to keep them busy playing hoops. And so year round, they kept these gyms open, and that was their way of combating. So if you didn't have nowhere to go in the summertime, you could go to the gym and get something to eat and play ball all day. Now, I don't know how much they encourage baseball or anything else. All I heard was just hooping. And so that was their way to kind of combat and help the youth in Flint. Because again, this was a beautiful city. If you went to Flint before the GM factory closed, this was a large city. I want to say at one time Flint was probably second behind Detroit. Now I could be wrong, but if I remember right, but Flint was a terribly big, beautiful city at one point. So middle class for all working class people. Yeah, 6'2". Look at his size. Cleaves was 6'2", 205. And Cleaves gets me mad because I've always told the story about Ed Martin. I've told y'all the story about who Ed Martin was. Ed Martin was one of the biggest hustlers in Detroit. And this is Al Prophet. This is where I get you. You want to pump up all these government agents that sold dope in Detroit. They was all government agents. Let's talk about Martin. Let's talk about Martin, who wasn't a government agent, and he played numbers. So what is it about Al Prophet that he doesn't want to show these other things? Like YBI was known for carjacking and cutting up cars, yet none of that is showed in his work. I don't understand that. But Ed Martin, you don't show anything about Ed Martin. See, Ed Martin worked at Chrysler. Chrysler, right now, the shell of the factory, there is so much concrete and steel, there's nothing they can do with that. It was called a city. It was called Chrysler City. This place was so big. He didn't sell any dope to anybody. He was a numbers runner. And the numbers runner is the lottery, 3, 4 digit. This is where Ed Martin got rich. He had a good job and he was a number runner. But he gave back. He was the numbers runner who believed in youth basketball. And so he was the dude that the different age groups pay for all the teams to get in the AAU. Play at, say, Cecilia. Jalen Rose talks about him. That's why that was really the drift between, because Chris Rose tried to shit on Ed Martin. Jalen held the line. Jalen didn't try to throw any flack. And I only bring Ed Martin up because the way they got caught was, if y'all remember Maurice Taylor, Tractor Trailer. Do y'all remember Tractor Trailer? I met Tractor Trailer at high school. I think he went to Detroit Western. He was the only one that dunked on. No, Corey Gibson dunked on him. God, don't even get me talking about Corey. Corey was 6'10". Yeah. Corey was 6'10". Oh, I know I'm going off, but I forgot about Corey. Corey's 6'10". I took Corey to 2 semi-pro games with me. We got Corey in college. I forgot about Corey. Yeah, I forgot about Corey. Took took him a couple games with me. Corey got an offer. Yeah, because I was like go somewhere. Corey was 6'10". And I remember I was somewhere and I saw him like, what the hell you doing around here? He's like, I ain't, wherever he went, he came back. It's like, okay, let's go hoop. And yeah, second place I took him like, hey, I got Corey. You need to come up here and watch him. Yeah, and Corey was gone. But anyway, he dunked on Tractor Trailer. I forget about that. Corey Gibson. Damn, I think that was Corey's last name. But he was 6'10". But anyway, Tractor Trailer, Maurice Taylor, and Cleves was in a truck, and the truck flipped. They was going on the interchange, and the truck flipped and went to crash. Cleves, this is recruiting for Michigan. So Tractor Trailer and Cleves wasn't on the team. They was still in high school. Maurice Taylor was in college at Michigan. They looked up the car. Somebody started fucking with the paper and saying, look up the paperwork. How this dude can he afford this new car? And all the thing came back to how Ed Martin was a booster at Michigan. Now, the way it went was Ed Martin was a booster. Not, I think where Jalen went to Detroit Southwestern. Maybe you guys can, if I remember right. Because one year Jalen played, they got beat where a dude heaved the ball from half court and it just went in. But Ed was a booster of that high school coach and his AAU programs. That high school coach later was assistant coach at Michigan. So Ed became a booster as that coach. Percy Watson, I think was his name. Yeah, Percy Watson was Jalen Rose's high school coach. Percy Watson. And Percy went to Michigan. He brought Ed. Ed became a Michigan booster. Ed wasn't selling dope. He wasn't destroying people. Ed was what the lottery is. All right? So you can't say that you can't compare Ed to any kind of dope dealer, pimp. You can't compare him to that. He was a numbers runner. And this isn't highlighted. People don't understand how numbers runners used to live. That is why the government took over the numbers. But melanated people control their own numbers. That's what the Queen up in Harlem. There was gosh, seemed like there was a Johnson dude in Chicago that started the numbers for the folks in Chicago. Past Al Capone. I forget his name. So this ain't a person destroying the neck. This is a person that's taking this money and putting it back in the youth of Detroit. And not only, and the reason why Jalen and Chris, what the fuck his name? Chris Webber. Chris Webber went to Detroit Country Day, which was Class B, or here it would be 3A. All right? Private school. I can't remember Chris Webber's brother's name, but his brother went there too. Ed Martin paid both of their educations. Look up Chris Webber's folks. They couldn't afford Country Day to put 2 children in Country Day. They couldn't afford it. Ed Martin paid Chris Webber's 3 or 4 years in high school and his brothers. And his brothers' tuition. And yet Chris Webber shitting on Ed Martin. And for lying, Jalen Rose told the truth. He wasn't sanctioned. Chris Webber lied and was sanctioned because he lied. But that's Mateen Cleaves, and I'm sorry I went on that. But yeah, Ed Martin was a booster. Absolutely. He was absolutely a Michigan booster. Just look around online and look how people are talking about women's college basketball right now. Lewis Bullock, okay. Yeah. Perry Watson, yeah, it took me, Fab Five. You thought they was a team. I don't like the Fab Five because I said it before. Michael Talley was better than King, and Sam Mitchell was better than Jackson. Don't tell me neither one of them cats was a point guard. And Jalen ended up who was really a natural 2 guard. Now Jalen, to a point, is a 1 because he don't really look to score all the time. But Michael Talley was a natural 1. And Sam Mitchell, I mean, Jimmy Jackson and whatever King compared to Sam Mitchell. That was ridiculous. Sam's 6'8". Sam is 6'8". and you bringing in King and Jackson and put Sam on the bench. If you look at the Fab Five, you see him in that first year. Sam rode the bench. Sam was starting before that. So was Michael Talley. King and Jackson was not better than Michael Talley and Sam Mitchell. Sam ended up transferring to Cleveland State. And I told the sad story of Sam. Sam was playing pro ball in Greece and died of Legionnaire disease in a hotel. So could it have been a sacrifice? Very well been. So that's why I think that team sucked. And what they did to Frieder was bogus. Fisher was his assistant because he didn't get along. He quit. Frieder quit at the end of that season because he didn't like Bo Schembechler. So he went and took the Arizona State job. And normally you get to finish your season, and Bo Schembechler did a press conference and said, we want a Michigan guy to coach the Michigan game. And they wouldn't let Frieder because he was still under contract with Michigan. He just signed what he was going to do the next year because he didn't like dealing with Bo Schembechler as the athletic director. And Bo Schembechler and spite made Frieder. And Frieder, well, I know I'm talking about a different Michigan team, but the Fab Five was bogus because, well, no, it's the same team. Well, Pazinga, Rob Pazinga is on that team too. That's the LA. But yeah, Sam Mitchell should have started with them and Michael Talley. That was the more balanced team. And that's the team that damn near beat Duke. If you remember, one of their early season games was against Duke, and they damn near beat them when they was freshmen. And Sam was a sophomore. And Sam matched up well with him, and Michael Talley. Both played good games. And really, Chris Webber missed a three that could have won the game. If y'all remember when they played Duke early in that year. With Sam Mitchell, they damn near beat Duke. And instead of highlighting Sam, he put them clowns, these two guards, because they could dunk. So that shows you it was more a script than trying to put a winning team together. Because if they was trying to put a winning team together, Sam Mitchell, Michael Talley play guards with Juwan Howard and Chris Webber. And Jalen Rose. Juwan, so that's who should have been the starting five. Was Michael Talley, Sam Mitchell, Chris Webber at power forward, Juwan Howard at big forward, and the two would have been Jalen Rose. That would have been a better squad, better defensively and better offense. And again, let's go back to that Duke game where both Sam and Michael Talley had good games, and they damn near beat them because in the beginning they wasn't playing Jackson. Jackson wasn't playing at all. Early in that season, Jackson wasn't playing at all. He was thinking about transferring because he wasn't playing. He shouldn't have played between. He definitely shouldn't have played before Talley played or Sam Mitchell. And King didn't play a lot them first couple games either. And that was the team that damn near beat Duke. And they was freshmen and sophomores. So, you're a Hawkeye fan. Okay. The Fab Five had me in the long shorts. Yeah, the black shoes. They copied a lot of stuff, though. I don't know if the long shorts was really their thing, but we can kind of give them to them. The black socks, the ball heads wasn't their thing. I mean, that was an East Coast thing. Ball heads was the East Coast thing. The black socks, kind of Jordan thing too that they wanted to take credit for. A lot of the league, the NBA socks that started churning the black by then. So I don't know. I don't know if they get all that credit. Oh, Kenyon, Kenyon Murray's son, Keegan, and one place, Keegan Murray. Yeah, so he broke the record for the most threes up in Sacramento. His other son just made first team All-American. So even though they didn't go that well, his other son is probably going to still get drafted in the first round because he's 6'8". He might be even a little taller. But Kenyon Murray, who was also a Hawkeye, I want to say Kenyon played with Roy Marble. Yeah. Roy was, Roy's not with us, but Roy was nice, really nice. A nice swing guard, strong dude. Roy Marble played at Iowa. Brother not with us anymore. But yeah, Kenyon grew up in Battle Creek. He was Battle Creek's only player of the year and played Iowa. And as I was saying, he ended up only going to Sweden to play over. He played in China. Kenyon played in China and he played in Sweden, which is, I've said before, one of the lower leagues. But he did make one play in China. He didn't like China. He said he hated it over there. There's too many damn people. B.J. Armstrong. Yep, B.J. Armstrong was from Iowa to play with the Bulls. Oh, big center A.C. Earl. Yes. I remember big center A.C. Earl. Yes, definitely A.C. Earl. Ah, Chris Street. Yes. Chris Street. I know Kenyon played with Chris Street, and I think Chris Street has passed, right? I think Chris Street had passed a while ago. Kenyon played with Chris Street too. Yeah, Chris Street and Kenyon were pretty good friends, if I remember right. Because it seemed like on Facebook, Kenyon put a thing to Chris. Keegan Murray for the Sacramento King, his son too. Yeah, yeah. Keegan is his son too. They're twins. Yeah, Keegan Murray. You know, when Keegan hits a three, they go Keegan Murray. You know, that's what they do up in Sacramento. They go Keegan Murray. But yeah, that's Kenyon's son too. He had twins. He married a volleyball player. But both of those boys went into because he's about Kenyon because they had the draft. He was at the draft. You can look up his interview when his son got drafted. They interviewed the dad. Kenyon is about 6'4", 6'5", maybe 6'5". He's nice size. We played a Macker together, beautiful Macker together. We turned it out. Great player, great player, great defender. I mean, he was locking bugs down, and we just ran into dudes that and we had a good team. We really did have a good team, and just we lost, but we won. Told that story before, but that was my guy. Jesus saved. Okay, what's happening? Jesus saves. What's happening? Thank you for coming. Hmm. Roy Marble, yeah. Thank you, Jesus. Say, yeah, Roy. That's what I was saying. Roy Marble's good player, good swing player, definitely a good swing player. Him and my guy Chucky was cool, really cool. They played AAU together. So many good players. Yes, yeah. The Big Ten. Well, Connie Hawkins. Well, let's say Don Nelson. Don Nelson played at Iowa, and Don Nelson was at Iowa. Don Nelson played with the Celtics. He hit the bounce in the air shot. The first shot I showed manipulated was Don Nelson's shot that goes all the way in the air and bounces in. Yeah, that was Don Nelson. He played in Iowa. Connie Hawkins originally went to Iowa and should have been a three-time All-American there if they wouldn't have harassed him. So, but again, we're talking about Big Ten play. Another Big Ten school, which has always been solid. Michael Thompson. I mean, it's just like even with here the Gophers, we got Michael Thompson, which is Klay Thompson's daddy. We got Kevin McHale. And that's about it. Bobby Hansen. Oh, yes, I remember Bobby Hansen. Dean Oliver. Who? It was a dude who went to Iowa from Albion, Michigan that I knew because I used to ref games. He used to hold tournaments and I ref games. What was his name? When Kenyon went, it was a dude from Albion, Michigan that was also a high school All-American. What was his name? He was Kenyon's year. Him and Kenyon went together, but he was out of Albion, Michigan. What was his name? Roy had a son named Devin Oliver. Devin Marble. Okay, I did not know that. Oh, Martez. Oh, no. What was his name from Albion that went to Iowa? Oh, I don't know. I worked a couple tournaments with him. He needed some reps, and he called me up and was like, can I come and do some games for him? But he played, I can't think of his name, but he played at Iowa too. He played at the same time as Kenyon. I can't think of that guy's name. I hadn't thought about him in years. Oh, and Dean went pro. Okay. Oh, okay. Dean Oliver and Jeff Homer was from my hometown, and Dean went pro. Okay. Okay. Oh, the guy from Albion was named Gosh, I almost had it there. I can picture his face. I can't think of his name, but he was from Albion, Michigan. Him and Kenyon went to Iowa at the same time. He played guard. He was a guard. Can't think of his name. As I said before, when Kenyon had went to the Kentucky camp like 3 years in a row, and everyone really thought that that's where he was going to. We thought he was going to go. He would have played if Kenyon would have went to Kentucky. He would have been on the national championship team under Tubby. And that's where everybody thought he was going because he like kind of had dated my sister. He was like maybe a year older than my sister, so he was always over the house. He liked my sister, so he was always playing over my dad's. My dad put a hoop on up on in the garage, and my younger brother and the guys was young enough, so we'd all play over there. And we was not seen for a week or so, and he'd be down in Kentucky. So he did that since he was like in 10th grade. So 3 summers he went to camp with Tubby, and whatever years Tubby was down there, Kenyon was down there going to camp, and some Battle Creek dude benefited off sending him to Iowa. It was somebody in Battle Creek that was a handler benefited to send him to Iowa, and so I never questioned that. I know who the dude is, and the dude got paid because he delivered him, but and Kenyon was forced into being more of just a defensive stopper. Kind of killed his NBA game. It was another dude. I'll tell you another name that played major college ball, but was David Hart Jr. Now David Hart Sr. played at Michigan. He was all conference player that played at Michigan. Longtime coach, um, coached at Battle Creek. Longtime neighbor of mine. Lived across the street from me. But David Hart Jr. was another dude that played at Michigan State. High school All State. Played at Michigan State. Never moved beyond that. And he was 6'5" point guard. Met him a bunch of times. Iowa, Minnesota with the Timberwolves. Okay, Ricky Davis was the man. Yeah, I remember Ricky Davis too. Wow. Yeah, I remember Ricky Davis. Okay. So it's all kind of brings up all kind of memories and stuff. Slam Duncan. Slam Duncan, mofo for sure. Oh, okay, yeah. Ricky Davis, yeah. Remember, Ricky Davis threw it off, was trying to get a triple double, so he thought if he threw it off the other team's basket and get it, and taking it to his basket, he would get a break. How do I want to do this? Because I'm not hooked up the same way. Oh, I think I can do that. Let's see. Because I got to pee. So give me like 2 minutes. All right. All right, guys. Thank you. Whew. Ah, thank you. Ooh, feels cool in here. Cool is good. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Thank you very much for that commercial, non-commercial break because I had to go. So yeah. You but it's funny, God, Corey Gibson. My goodness, I ain't thought about Corey in a long time. I mean, I forget where I ran into him. I was like, man, what are you doing around here? He's like, oh, I ain't doing nothing, man. I'm here wherever he went. This dude is 6'10", nice size, 6'10". He's a European player, or a European dude. But from Battle Creek, I had known him forever. He had known me forever. And so when I saw him, I was like, man, okay, you around here? You want to hoop? He's like, of course. And I'm telling you, he only played, oh gosh, 2 or 3 games. And I had people like, hey, I started calling people like, hey, Corey at home. You know that. I remember when I saw him, I called where he ended up going. I was like, Corey is at home. He's like, you kidding me? Like, no. Corey's 6'10". I'm like, Corey is here. I'm taking him so and so place to go play. He's like, all right. And yeah, Corey only played a couple tournaments with me, and they got Corey. They took Corey somewhere. Tractor Trailer. Oh yeah, Tractor Trailer was nice, but Corey got him. Corey was the only one I ever saw to punch on it because Tractor Trailer wasn't that tall. He was only 6'8", but he was 6'8", probably 270 thick. Now I'm maybe 250, but he was a big guy. In high school, he was nimble, and I don't think he ever really got truly in shape. He was shaped like Barkley, but couldn't really run like Barkley. Never really like Barkley. Despite Barkley being a thick player, Barkley was strong, but Barkley could run. Tractor Trailer really didn't have that game. He had the Barkley game far as a half court set, but he wasn't doing what Barkley was doing, filling in on the break. Maybe even being the fourth man, on the break. He couldn't do that. But and I would even say that cat might only been 6'7". I don't think he was fully 6'8". Like when Corey punched on him, I mean Corey, it was like he had nothing to do. He was like right on Corey, and Corey caught it in front of him, just in his face. Boom! But on the other end, did they beat them? I think they beat them. I think Battle Creek Central and Corey, and I'm trying to think who else played with Corey. Then I can't really Van Sickle. Corey and Van Sickle was playing together. Yeah, I was talking about Meech last night. Meechy Van Sickle, and they beat Tractor Trailer in them. But he nimble enough to break down. Nobody could guard him 1-on-1. I mean, strong enough, quick enough to get by people. Could handle the ball. But he seemed to have never overcome his weight issues. When he played with early LeBron, and the guy didn't live to be 40. I think he died in his 30s. So, but yeah, ran into him. Tractor Trailer ran into him in high school. Yeah, you forget all the people that you see. And it wouldn't have even made me if I would have thought about Tractor Trailer. I would have never thought about Corey. And I forget. I forget people. You know, I forget people. Or these people, I know they'd have something good to say about me. Again, I'm like calling people. I'm seeing this guy and I'm calling him like, man, Corey is here. And he wasn't like another dude. Another dude, the person that called me, I was talking to a guy and he's like, you seen, what was his name? It was, he was Jackson. So what did they call him? The guy asked me about him. And the next day, I see the guy because the guy had been playing pickup. I'm like, yeah, I see him all the time. He played pickup. And this was to go to Central State. All he had to do was go down there. Can't think of this dude's name, but it was like we was meeting at the junior college because I lived by it. Plus, I had a girl lived over there, so I'd like go knock her off in the morning and go play basketball at the junior college. And I would see this cat, so I was like, "Look, we going down to matter of fact, from Battle Creek, Wilberforce ain't that far, 2.5 hours, I think, south." And yeah, the brother didn't show up. I go to the gym and wait an hour and a half. He ain't never show up. The dude had a full ride to Wilberforce. Whereas Corey, as I mentioned, I called one dude, and dude was like, "Hey, we started to get these wheels to try to get him where we are." And Corey, as I said, it was like 2-3 weeks, and Corey was gone because he followed up. I'm like, "Hey, these people want to talk to you." Matter of fact, the game he played one game, and I think the second game he played with us, the people was coming to talk to him. It's like, "Hey, man, I'm glad you're in shape." And I'm not bragging. That was something normal to me. To get dudes to connect dudes that ain't doing nothing to go hoop. That was normal to me to get eyes on them. Now I wasn't never no agent. I ain't never expect to be. My thing was I was trying to bring the best semi-pro team I could put together. That's the way I looked at it. And if other guys are able to benefit off that, then that's great. So yes, going into it, I was selfish, but when you look at the whole, I wasn't selfish. I wasn't telling dudes don't go, go somewhere and to better yourself and to hang around me. So, make my thing a little better. Who was that? Kevin Gamble. Yes, I knew Kevin Gamble. I remember him. Les Jepson, don't remember him, but I remember Kevin Gamble. Yeah, Kevin Gamble would have been with I want to say he played AAU with Darvin Ham and John John. That's what if I remember right, Kevin Gamble played with Devin Ham in AAU. I think that was the same time. Maybe my years are off. But yeah, Devin Ham is another dude, coming kind of out of Michigan, AAU. Used to see him. Remember, he broke a rim. That was his claim to fame. I think he was playing at Montana State. I forget where he went to college, but he broke a rim. Remember, that was his claim to fame. He broke a rim. Devin Ham, the LA Lakers coach. But he a young man out of Detroit, out of Michigan. Shane Battier. Shane. Another guy. I think Shane's from Muskegon. There's another young man out of Michigan that beat the big fella. He ended up going to Michigan State, and I don't remember what happened to him. There was a guy that I told the story before. Okay, Quinn Snyder, that used to coach Missouri. Quinn Snyder played at Duke. He got these two, Robert Traylor. Robert, no, that's Tractor Trailer's name. What was his name out of Ben Harbor? It'd come to me, maybe not. But anyway, he was he was 6'8", all state, might have been an All American. He went to his senior year, he got a rape charge, and I can't think of this guy's name. The guy ended up later playing for Toronto, but he went with Quinn Snyder to Missouri. Well, he was supposed to go to Missouri. It was two dudes, one guy out of Ben Harbor. They wouldn't let him play because in Canada he had played varsity since 7th grade. He had played actually 5 years, so he had played 4 years of varsity in Canada. In Michigan, you can only play 4 years of varsity. In other states, you can play as many, and Canada's another country. So that guy goes to Quinn Snyder and plays in Missouri. This other guy, I can't think of his name. He was Mr. Basketball in Michigan too. And he had sex with a 13-year-old, and they dropped him at Missouri. He later plays at Cincinnati. This guy later plays at Cincinnati, and I know he ended up in Toronto at one point. So I remember Ronnie Lester. Ronnie Lester was a little bit older than me. Don't know Billy Mayfield, but I remember Ronnie Lester. He was Magic's age. Ronnie Lester came through when Magic. He played against Magic and them. When Magic came through, I remember him. Gosh, and so. But that's just what anybody should do when you hustle like that and you meet people, you connect people. That's how most people should be. You connect people. You don't be on the ego trip. You just connect people. To me, it was just about playing. I've had people's let me down. I've had super teams and got beat by guys. And I go to a tournament and have a great team. I mean, have everybody, and then run out of some boys like it was a dude named Bethea, and I can't think of Hollywood's name, and then hit some clutch shots on us. One again, two college players playing in this tournament. Bethea was playing at Michigan State. I forget where Hollywood was playing at the time, but they was out of South Bend. Beat us in a crucial, so we had to go. We had to play the extra game because we lost because it was a double elimination tournament. And then the next day, we were supposed to play the Ben Harbor dudes. When I talk about hood, none of my guys show up. Not like none of them. Like one dude showed up. One or two dudes showed up. So the day before, I got 8 of the best players. Me make 9. Next day, none of them show up. So all that money that I had to pay to get in the tournament, you know, it's funny. My cousin's ex-husband, he was one of the few to show up. So and that's hard to lose that money and know you got a chance, and know maybe that was just the first game. We can still play better. So those are the kind of chances you take, as you try to put together talent to play when you play. That's all. That's all. Cornbread Maxwell got to be the most random. Oh yeah. Matter of fact, this is what I used to say about Cornbread Maxwell. Cornbread Maxwell was Carl Malone before Carl Malone. because a lot of Karl Malone's game was getting fouled. I mean, I mean, if you look at Michael Jordan's game, free throws became a big part. But for someone that didn't win it all, Karl Malone was the most free throw getting person in his career. And that's why he's number two or number three now, all time leading scorer, because he got most of his points at the free throw. And I always thought that there should be an award for the person that goes for the free throw most that didn't really have talent like that. And I thought in some aspects, Karl Malone filled that. Pick and roll, they're not calling his moving screens. They're not calling all his charges. They're not calling how dirty John Stockton was, moving screens again. So, Cornbread Maxwell was the same way. Like Cornbread Maxwell talks shit about where Boston got rid of the UCLA champions, Curtis Rowe and Sidney Wick. Now, you tell me in a real world that you keep Cornbread Maxwell over Curtis Rowe and Sidney Wicks. You tell me. They cut Cornbread Maxwell and Sidney Wicks. No. They cut Curtis Rowe and Sidney Wicks to keep Cornbread Maxwell. When Sidney Wicks at that point had played an All-Star game. So make that make sense. But you keep Cornbread Maxwell from Wilmington, North Carolina, Wilmington. No, North Carolina, Charlotte. You keep him, but you don't keep these UCLA champions. Oh, they didn't hustle enough. They weren't any good. That's what Larry Bird wanted to tell. He said they was gone the next day, but you kept Cornbread Maxwell. Look at his game. Look at them that first championship in '81. Look at how he scored. Every time he scored was almost on the line. He was one of the most slowest dudes. Size. He had size. I want to say he's every bit of 6'8.5". But no game. No game. It was like the sorriest college MVP ever was Scott May. And I thought they should put an award for the most suckiest player of the year should get the Scott May Award. Scott May was the worst college. Yeah. Scott May was the worst college MVP, whatever it was called back then. And there should be some kind of award for underachiever. It should be the Scott May Award. Because you talking about an underachiever in MVP, NBA. Scott May played in Indiana. And then Scott May won a championship in Indiana. Then he went with the Bulls. Have y'all heard of Scott May before? Matter of fact, his son played pro. May. A few years ago, the other May boy that played. Did he play for Miami? When the Miami won the 2 championships with Noah and them, wasn't a May on there? That's Scott May's son. That May, if you guys remember. I'm pretty sure he played in Miami with Noah and them. It was a May. It was Hartford and a May. And that's Scott May's son, if y'all remember him. Karl Malone does look good for like 60, trying to look younger than 13 years old. That's so funny. That is so funny. That is so funny. Also, look at the final score of the game was 102-85. Gematria 102. Crack 130. 8 plus 5 equals 12. Excellent work. Excellent work. Like they let the girl make the 3, at the 3 at the end of the game. Now you could tell that was definitely a point shaving 3. So I hope that's not any indication how the men's game is going to go. Because they influenced that game. They had to heavily fix the women's game. I mean, that game was heavily fixed, which I haven't seen a heavily game fixed like that in a long time. It was almost remind me of how they would do in college. High school. They would fix games like that in high school where it became obvious. And as I said before, the worst part of it is for the other team is if you let me hold, you defend like that. Like I used to, when I was reffing I would ref high school games. The high school team would run where they would use the umpire. When I would be in the umpire position, they would use the umpire as like a pick against the linebacker. Because I'm kind of next to the linebackers. So they would always send somebody at me. And it was like I had to get around that person, and so would that linebacker. So, so I was kind of involved in the play. So I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. I would have to shift myself to other positions so they couldn't use me like that. Because he's obviously using me as a screen. So my point is,
if you let a team get away with something, they will keep doing it. And they let that team, they let LSU hold the whole game. The whole game they got to hold. And you can't tell me, as I said, physically that'll wear you down. If you're not just fighting them, just trying to guard you, but if they're being able to hold you while they're guarding you, that wears you down. So I thought that was bogus. I am unskilled for the court, but I can drive because I got a big body and I'm lethal for three when I'm open. I can dribble between. Oh, you can dribble between your legs. You can't dribble between your legs. Oh. Oh, you can't dribble between. Okay. Google Omali Bailu. He's a 5-star recruit from Iowa. Okay, where's he going? Where's he going? You know where he's going? I don't feel like doing that kind of work. I'll check him out though. 5-star recruit from Iowa. Do you know where he's going? Has he signed yet? Because I don't know where a lot of these guys are going, and I haven't heard who got player of the year here in Minnesota yet. If it was the big boy from Wayzata who won the state title, it was their point. It was a point guard. That it was 3 guys, so I don't know, and I imagine they gave it to the big boy that won the finals. So yeah, kind of hate I didn't get the or print the schedule. ISU, okay, he's going to Iowa State. That's where Royce White went. Well, Royce White got kicked out of got kicked out of the Gophers. He was playing with Tubby, and Royce White got kicked out for stealing. So he ended up transferring to Iowa because he got kicked out of here for stealing. Because it seemed like, I'll say this to his face, it seemed like he had a stealing problem because he was going to downtown De La Salle, and he won 2 high school championships, I think, at De La Salle. And yeah, he got caught stealing at De La Salle. So he went to Iowa. He ended up winning the state title with Hopkins High School. Then he went from Hopkins to with Tubby Smith, him and Rodney Williams. They both went to and I don't know if Royce was set up, but Royce stole the laptop and got caught and had to transfer out. I always know how to dribble between my legs, but what helped me the most was I watched he got game with Roy Allen and dribbled the ball real fast between his legs. He just played with Ronnie James at the McDonald All Star. Okay, then I checked him out because I watched that game. I watched some of that game too. Uh, Gosh, ball handling. How did that help me? Like when I went to Western Michigan University's basketball camp, it was run by assistant coach. Well, the first year was ran by Eldon Miller, who later coached at Ohio State, coached Cart Kellogg's and Herb Williams. But my first year of going to that basketball camp, Eldon Miller was still at Western. And he had an assistant named Dick Schultz. And then my high school basketball coach, Don Jackson, it was their camp. And in this camp, one thing that it was junior pro, it was under the guidance of junior pro. And one part of junior pro was that basketball handling drills. They emphasized that. So we had a drill team of actually just doing ball handling drills. And so we went to the National Junior Pro Finals for 2 years, my 5th grade, my 6th grade year, all because I went to Western Michigan University's camp, basketball camp. And so, but the type of drills we had to do helped me. Now, one thing that really helped me, I dribbled high, but I dribbled so hard that people really couldn't steal the ball. Because even though I dribbled high, like I'd spin the ball high and I could completely control it, but I dribbled so hard. It's like I really dribbled the ball really hard. So even though I dribbled high as a younger player, I dribbled so hard that I rarely got the ball stolen. I mean, rarely because I dribbled so hard. And then later I brought the ball down, but I dribbled so hard. Rarely got it taken. Stop watching the stick because it's reminding me of my mama's switch. Yeah, this is my magic swear, The witches come and be trying to send stuff, so I send it back at them. They send stuff, so I had to send it back at them. Never hit anybody with that. That was a gift, so. But this is from what I call the mother tree, a gift she gave me. Yeah. So very weathered. I don't even know if I'm going to varnish this or not before I put crystals on it. But until then, it's cool. Adrian Peterson switch. Ah, oh, don't even get me started with him and what they did to him in his prime. That was so bogus. You know, they let him fall 3 yards behind of breaking Eric Dickerson records. They didn't even like Eric Dickerson. The NFL didn't like Eric Dickerson. I'm so surprised they let him go in the NFL. And they had to. He got the numbers, but they didn't like him. They was never going to let him win anything. He had problems everywhere he went. He talked his way out of going to LA. He went to his college coach. I'm trying to think who his college coach was. He went to SMU with James. I can't think of that other running back, but his name was James. And they played together at LSU before the LSU got the death penalty because he got a car. He was driving a new car, Eric Dickerson. He had the Jerry curl and he ran straight up. How is that successful? How is a runner that runs straight up and don't fake you left or right? Herschel Walker wasn't successful for that style. Eric Dickerson and Herschel Walker were the same player. No fakes, just straight up running. He was the first successful dude that ran straight up in the air. How is that? There's no way in a real world Eric Dickerson was successful in a real world with that. Can't nobody say Herschel Walker was successful with that style? And remember, Herschel Walker has the number one. I think Herschel Walker's professional rushing yardage is greater than what Eric Dickerson did. But all Herschel Walker was straight ahead. He had no fakes for you. And Eric Dickerson, same way. He had none of this. Look at his championship game against the Cowboys. Yeah, where he needed to get a few more yards with some fakes, there was nothing there. He was a straight, no fakes. So how was he successful? And he really, again, disgruntled player. Went to Indiana, was nothing. Again, his yards weren't effective yards. It didn't help a team win a championship other than when he played with the Rams. That was the only time he was successful was when he played with the Rams. Always controversy around him, and he ended up with the Raiders. But he got that single season rushing yardage, and they didn't let Adrian Peterson break it, and then they shame him the next year. And time is against running backs. And that's the only thing the shaming was to stop his greatness. To stop his greatness. They hurt him because what people forget, when Adrian Peterson tore his knee up against Washington, he had damn near broke his ankle and was playing on a bad ankle. Do you understand? They talked him into playing, and his knee got destroyed because he was playing on a bad foot. And your leg compensates. That's how they trick you. That's why, they try to put all this bad poison on Lamar Jackson for not playing. Because Lamar Jackson remembers what they did to RG3, where he was hurt. And then Shanahan's convinced him to play. And it ruined his career. He was never the same player again. But Shanahan knew his ass was on the line, so he convinced him to play, and he got hurt. And let's not talk about what the young Gruden tried to hurt him in preseason. And the Cowboys agreed, and they tried to hurt him in preseason. But Jay Gruden, don't forget what he tried to do to RG3 because he didn't like him because the owner liked him. And he felt that the owner, put RG3 in the position, but they wanted Kirk Cousins. But he tried to get RG3 hurt in the playoffs, in the preseason. And I think Stephen A. Smith was the only one that said something about it. He's like, they tried to hurt him. They put a second string line because Jay Gruden didn't like RG3. Because of success. He was jealous of the success he had the year before. See, they don't tell you about the egos even though it's fixed. Barkley, that plays up in the Giants, they hurt him on purpose. Remember, he missed? Yeah, there's something he didn't do. He didn't fix some play. They had to send him a lesson. They hurt him on purpose. That's the same thing with Gale Sayers. They destroyed his knees on purpose. They went after one knee. And even after they went off that at one knee, the next year he led the league in rushing. With one, a repaired leg, he still led the league in rushing. He was still all pro. Not in the all-star game, NFL. All pro 5 years in a row. That's Hall of Fame. That's why he was the youngest person in the Hall of Fame. But they hurt him on purpose. And isn't it funny? Great as Gale Sayers was, they didn't want that energy to continue. You notice that? They gave Barry Sanders half. And again, Barry Sanders went behind Lynn Barney wearing 20, Billy Sims, Heisman Trophy wearing 20. So he wasn't original. He was just a carbon copy. He was a type of a combination of both of them. Closer to Billy Sims because Billy Sims was short too. But you notice how number 40 isn't a magical number in the NFL? Why is that? The most elusive runner in NFL history wore number 40. But that ain't a magical number they use, is it? Matter of fact, they made it go away. Now, during this time, you see, guys, my friend that went to Michigan told you I cut off back when there was newspapers. I cut out all his clippings. He went to Kalamazoo Hackett. He was All American out of Kalamazoo Hackett. Later went to Michigan. He wore number 40 because of Gale Sayers. He graduated in 71 or 72 or 73, maybe 72. He didn't care about OJ, Jim Brown. He wore number 40 because of Gale Sayers. But you see how when they want to take away that energy, they don't promote things. That number's not promoted anymore. It's like they want that number locked away. They want to continue with the 23, 32, 34. I mean, this is, the Jim Brown 33s. They gave McCaffrey 23, which is the same thing as 32. So, street ball like, and one to me is another modern day Harlem Globetrotter. I think they don't have ties to Harlem. No, they have no ties to Harlem. They were out of Chicago. They were the state champions in high school, whatever division, and the state champions started playing pro ball actually. And I don't know how if the original owner that got the high school team to start being a pro team, he sold, I think, to Abe Saperstein. And Abe Saperstein, even though they were from Chicago, he called them the Harlem Globetrotters, which was an insult because they were from Chicago. And it probably, Harlem probably had, I don't know, has Harlem got some kind of Jewish faith connection where the Jewish faith owner needed to call them? And I'll tell you, if you have any kind of opinion, if you want to know a low opinion of the Harlem Globetrotters, read Connie Hawkins' book, File. He tells you what Abe Saperstein was like. He tells you that he would go into a town and he would just look like what Europe later did for tall Europeans. He would just look for a tall black dude. Didn't matter if he could play ball or not. He was always recruiting. And Connie doesn't have, kind things to say about the Globetrotters. He only played for him for, I think, 1 year. Just like Wilt only played 1 year for him, too. So I don't know, guys. Where is that at? Ray. Oh. Yeah, Eric Dixon running would not be a success for football if played for real. Yeah, it's no way. No way. It's not coming up here. Why is that? That is very odd. I hate O.J. Simpson's O-line was called the Electric Company because they could put on the juice. Shit sounds scripted. Why is that not up here? Wow. Huh. That is strange. Where is that? Huh. I don't see that. Huh. That is very strange. How do you? I don't even know how that is possible. Okay. Yeah, Eric Dickerson. Yeah, it's no way. Watch him. Herschel Walker either though. And people, most like when you saw Herschel Walker as a freshman, and when he finally, I think as a freshman, Georgia won a national championship because I had a friend that was on the cover and he got beat. He went to who did they lose to? Let's see. They lost it maybe Herschel's freshman year, maybe won it his sophomore year. But you just saw long runs. That's all you saw with Herschel Walker in college. You saw long runs. You didn't see any shiftiness. So when he goes in USFL, he's exposed with no shiftiness. No shiftiness. He's one of the stiffest dudes ever. That's why he was a good kick returner. Because kick returners, you don't really necessarily want shiftiness. You need to go forward. That's why he became a better kick returner than a running back. Yeah. But that was Herschel Walker. Herschel Stiff Walker. But then USFL exposed him. But he still, he still had a monster season to see with the USFL fully stocked. He still ran 2,000 and something. That's the real record. Marshall Faulk was more talented than Eric. There it is. Marshall Faulk, lot shiftier player, ran low, but a shiftier player that was fast. Exactly. Way better player that played for the Colts and they played for the Colts and the Rams. Right? Faulk played with the Rams too, didn't he? He played with the Colts at least. Yeah, Marshall Faulk played for the Colts and the Rams. He did opposite. He started with the Colts and ended up with the Rams. Where Eric Dickerson started with the Rams, ended up in the Colts, and then later played with the Raiders. So it might have been scripted, a little opposite. But yeah, Faulk was way better player. Couldn't even compare him, really. I mean, you really couldn't even compare the two. Eric Dickerson did one thing, and yeah, he got the yards, but that's it. Look at the rest of his career. You can't say it's one, like even Bo Jackson, you got to play where you can look at a Bo Jackson play. That was a great play. What he did to Brian Beckenworth, where he did the long run in Seattle, and they said Bo has left the building because when he ran a touchdown, he ran down the tunnel, and then when he put his helmet, in Brian Beckenworth's chest, Bo Jackson got some plays where you can say, well, Bo wasn't just a straight guy. Bo had power. You can't say Eric Dickerson had any power. He had no power, but this was his fake. His fake was leaning one way or the other. Watch his running style. That's his fakes. He would lean. Now, I can break down most players. You know why O.J. Simpson was great? O.J. Simpson was probably the only running back ever that could turn his shoulders sideways and run through a hole full speed. So he could make himself smaller, less a target, and while running full speed. Do I need to say that again for y'all? O.J. Simpson could turn his shoulders sideways while running straight forward at full speed. That is what made O.J. special. See, he wasn't, now Jim Brown was a power runner. He wasn't no shifty dude either. But he was a power runner. He was big as everybody else. But he wasn't shifty. He wasn't, putting that on anybody. I'll tell you, if you just like shifty running backs, look up Hugh McElhenny. He's probably, I know you got to throw Michael Vick in there, but Hugh McElhenny is up in there too as shifty running backs. I would dare even say I want to put Hugh over Barry Sanders because Hugh didn't run backwards either. I don't rate Barry Sanders high because he ran backwards too much. All he had to do was die on a lot of them plays. He'd have helped the Lions. Don't quit all them running backwards, losing 10. Learn to be a good blocker. Learn to catch passes. Make yourself better. That's why I don't rate Barry Sanders very high, because he refused to do those things. And then after watching Walter Payton play, and he was excellent at all of them, he was a football player. Barry Sanders wasn't going to block nobody, and he didn't really want to catch passes. He didn't want to catch screens. Something that would have made him better. Do you understand why he didn't want to catch screens? Because he couldn't run backwards. That's why he didn't want to catch screens. He had no chance to run backwards. That's why he wanted to be in the backfield, because he could always run backwards if he got in trouble. He didn't want to catch passes because passes, you got to go forward. And that really wasn't Barry Sanders. Yeah, he could zigzag, fake people out, definitely. But that running backwards, to me, it does not. Running backwards, to me, takes away from all his making people miss. It takes away everything because he ran backwards to get out of trouble. Now, did he make people miss in a different kind of way? I still don't think he was Gale Sayers make people miss. Quick make people miss, but not Gale Sayers. Like, there's plays where Gale Sayers was fake one dude out twice. Now, And let's look at the difference in size. Barry Sanders 5'5", 5'6". Gale Sayers 5'7", 5'8". You got a little bigger guy. You got a shorter guy that needs to get backwards. He needs to go backwards to go forwards. I am not a big Barry Sanders fan. They repay him a large pension. All OJ did was not kill. Yeah, I've said that before. That's some real talent. That's how they repaid OJ. Sean Alexander, yeah, he was good. And they let him tie the all-time touchdown because I think he got 6 touchdowns too when he was Seattle. So he tied Ernie Nevers. I talked about Ernie Nevers the other night, and I talked about Gale Sayers. And Gale Sayers really could have had 7 touchdowns, and they didn't let him get the 7th. They kept him out the game against San Francisco. He actually could have had 7. My candle is still, took my medicine. I'm not sniffing, but I'm not breathing out my nose either. Yeah, oh yeah, and that's asset protected too. O.J. Simpson's pension is also asset protected. So the Goodmans can't get $250,000. And that's a story. That was reality TV. That's all that was. That was straight up reality TV. What time is it? Because I do have some shit to do tomorrow. I've been going for an hour and a half and it's only 12. Oh, it's only 12. Right on. Usually when I come about this time, it'd be late in the motherfucker, but it's not bad. Not bad. And I can argue about all that with OJ, What was her name? Faye Ray? Was that her name? Or is that Tarzan? I forget. But the Ray girl and how she didn't have any money in her account and how it's a fact that Nicole Simpson and that Ray girl owed a key. Yeah, that's a fact. They owed a key. And then, they were trying to prove that the Ray girl wasn't part of this owing a key. And because she didn't have any money in her account, and magically $20,000 appears in this Ray girl's account, and we know we know the conversation OJ had, where the dope dealers called him and he said he wasn't gonna pay him no more, because he got tired of her and that Ray girl trying to get quarter key, half key, and then try to make OJ pay for that shit. So we know all that was going on. So when you hear, you got to look at everything. So none of that was real, though. All that shit was fake. I heard somebody say they didn't like Barry. Yeah, I didn't like Barry. As I said before, I felt bad for him his rookie year. They fucked him out of $100,000. But that year when they played Washington in the playoffs, in the NFC Championship game, and to take pressure off himself, all he had to do was run some first down screens. You know what he did? The first time they called the screen, he didn't try to catch the ball. The second time they called the screen, even though it was wide open, he didn't try to catch the ball. The peak of his career, he was so selfish, didn't do the film work, knowing that if I catch the ball, I'm going to be more open. And I'm trying to think, was Henning the coordinator for the Lions that year? They had a great team. Scott Mitchell, Herman Moore. And all we needed to do was Barry to run screens so they couldn't put 8 in the box. Remember, that Washington team that won the Super Bowl had a good team. But that Lions team was better. And all they needed Barry to do was catch screens so they could open up their offense. And, of course, Barry, the first time, because he's Barry, refuses to help his team. Purposely drops a pass so they quit calling it. And they kept calling it, and he kept dropping them. And every time he dropped it, the play was open. The first time, he could have got a touchdown. The first time they ran a screen, there was nobody there. It was the perfect call. Barry could have easily ran a touchdown. But instead of running a touchdown because he didn't like catching passes, he dropped it on purpose. In the NFC Championship game, they tried to run the other side. He dropped it again. Again, the play was wide open. So, no, I don't like Barry Sanders. And if you think I'm lying about that game, look that game up. NFC Championship game between the Detroit Lions and the Washington Redskins, and the Washington Redskins end up winning the Super Bowl. Look that game up if you think I'm lying. And watch the beginning series when Detroit get the ball. So I'm not a Barry Sanders fan because he didn't work on his game. Never blocked. And I'll say this: Barry started off with a run and shoot coach. I think Miles Davis was his first coach, and the only way you ran the ball was draws. That's how you hurt them. It's like once they try to blitz, you hit the running back with the draws because everybody the splits are so wide. You hit him with the draw. And that's how Barry Sanders. People forget that. That's how Barry Sanders came in the NFL. He didn't have a running back heavy coach. He came in with a run and shoot coach. Miles Davis was run and shoot. So no, I'm not a big Barry Sanders fan. I trust you because I just missed Barry Sanders days. Oh, well, not a matter of trust. It's just I'm saying this is the things, and you know, living in Michigan, I got to see him play live a bunch of times, and he never worked on his game. And after watching Walter Payton be such a good overall football player, willing to block, and then seeing this guy that wasn't even willing to block for his teammates, and then wouldn't work on his own physical game by catching passes. I mean, Barry was a selfish football player, and he limited himself because, again, if all you can do is run from the backfield, when you get in trouble, all you can do is run backwards, and that's what he was good at. But if he would have been if he would have been a good route runner, and don't even talk about running routes with Barry Sanders. Don't talk about Barry Sanders being a pass catcher by running a route. He could just run screens. He refused to even run routes. Look at his films. Try to look at a film where Barry Sanders runs more than 3 or 4 yards and turns around. Where he runs a real route. Like somebody put Marshall Faulk. They had Marshall Faulk running outs, digs, hitches to make himself more available. Barry Sanders had one track mind. If I ain't running out of the eye or to run and shoot to hit me with the quick hits, I don't want to do it. So he was a selfish player. And he was only 5'6". But the 5'6" dude, I want to run behind the line. That's all he want to do. And if I get in trouble, I'll run backwards. And maybe by running backwards, I can, fake everybody out. They get tired, and then I can run forward. So no, I don't give him props because he was a selfish athlete that did not try to make himself better. Because good as he was, he could have been greater. And I don't give him that love because to me, he didn't work on his game. Emmitt Smith ran routes. Emmitt Smith caught screens. Emmitt Smith blocked. Emmitt Smith didn't run backwards. And a lot of people say, well, Emmitt Smith played on better teams. Okay, yeah, he did. But he did the other things. He caught screens. Remember the game he had, that great game he had against the Giants when he separated his shoulder? He was catching screens with a separated fucking shoulder, reaching his arm out. Separated fucking shoulder. Now you tell me where Barry Sanders did that. Yeah, I remember that. That's why Barry Sanders never won a championship. He just wasn't that dude. He was a selfish player. Oh, yeah. Not just, I'll say this, never take the jab. They didn't have a bad general manager. They had decades of bad general managers. Decades. Yeah. But again, if you look at, when William Clay Ford, they wanted him out of the auto business. So the most inept relative, the most inept son, they gave him the Lions to get out of the car business. And what's interesting is the Lions are almost worth as much as Ford, or at least as much as the Ford family still owns out of Ford, because they don't really own Ford anymore. But the Fords never realized $1 million they paid, because I think they paid $1 million for Detroit Lions in the 50s. They paid $1 million to get their inept brother out of the car business and get him to doing something else. Because when the Ford's family bought the Lions had won in 52, 53, and 54, I think, something like that, the Bobby Lane years. So they bought it right after, and then they were terrible forever. Terrible forever, but despite them being terrible, they were able to build Ford Field in Detroit. They sell out most of their games, and right now, that $1 million they put in for this team, they are $1 billion industry, $1 billion business. So something they didn't, as a family, take very important has put generational wealth in the Ford family, where some of the generational wealth was taken away from the automobile business because they lost some of that business. They lost a lot of control. So do you see how it was? This was no way they had this planned, and maybe some say they did, but let me see if I was gonna have a little fun with everybody tonight. Let's see. Gosh, let's see. Oh, okay. I'll show this. I'll show this. I can make this bigger. Yeah, this is my son. You guys see him all the time. This is my oldest son. This is my mother. This is my godmother. But y'all see him all the time. He's 6'8". He's about 6'4". This is my oldest son. So, and you see how much he looks like. He tries to look like one of them peoples, though. He does his hair with them people's rolls, you know. And this is my mother. My mother's 82. So I got tough bodyguards around me, y'all. I don't have no little people around me. Let's see. Oh gosh. Okay, I messed up. Okay. See. Oh, okay. I don't want that. Don't want that. Don't want none of this. Let's bring it back up. I wanted you guys to help me with some things and I can't find it. No, this is not what I need. Gosh darn, guys. I'm pretty sure this is what I needed. Let's see. Ah, there it was. All right. If I can, let me see if I can find this in a row. Ah, here we go. All right, guys. I want you guys to vote on which ring you like the most. Let me read what you guys are saying. Barry Sanders sacrificed so much money to escape Detroit. He couldn't Detroit, so he decided to retire. He didn't like Bobby Ross either. Don't remember that story. He hated Bobby Rice. I see the Patriots home versus Cowboys. It was preseason and Troy Aikman holding with a dude coming out the stadium. I couldn't believe it. What I saw. Emmitt Smith ordering a hot dog for RG3 spots. Well, y'all know I'm getting married. And so I want you guys to vote on type of wedding rings. So here's the first one. Michigan was the bigger, McGinnis was the biggest ever. Oh. So what do you guys think about this one? What do you guys think? Now, one reason why it's good to have 10 carat in wedding rings is because you're going to be banging it a lot depending on what you do. And it's a ring you wear every day. Now, again, this ring more than likely is SI. These are not VS diamonds. So, what do you guys think? Yes or no? And this is 2 carats, not pave carats, but 2 carats. What do you say? I think that's the same one. Where's the other one? Oh, here we go. Why is it not coming in like that? Why is it not coming in? You guys are on some bullshit. Let me find where it was again. Ah, that's why. What has happened? Why is it showing all this? Well, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not going to do that part tonight, guys. There is something going on here. It's not taking this. Huh. That is odd. Very odd. Well, never mind. I'll try it another day because something is going on. That's some bull. All right, never mind. Never mind, guys. I guess we're not gonna play. Wedding rings. Weddings is a scam. They'll get married on paper, respectively. But the more gold, the better. Diamonds ain't worth nothing. Yes, but you want a hard. You want a hard gold. It's like this ring. I know can take a beating because I hit it on everything. You know. So that's where I mean, not the only 10 carat ring I have is this one. This one's 10 carat. It's just I like pinky rings, but all the others are 14 carat. But I'm just saying, I think that's a consideration for people, especially if you're active and you wear your ring all the time. It's gooder that it's gooder. It's better that to have something hard. Now this is this one that I wear on the wedding ring. This is 14 karat, but just the shape, I don't hit it on stuff. And this ring, I rarely wear it. You know, so so yeah, it's definitely what the gold weight is something to consider too. Yeah, diamonds, diamonds, especially diamonds. Yes, yes and no. Diamonds, because if say you have to pawn this stuff, how much can you get? If you pay 2,000 for a ring and then you pawn it, you should at least be able to get 75% back. So that's all. But I'm not understanding why I can't show it. Let's try it again. Not sure what happened there. Ah, what? What is going on? No. Oh, that's what's going on. Okay, maybe I can get it to do what I needed to do now. Maybe not. No. Ah, it keeps jumping on me. Oh well, no fun tonight. Not sure why it's doing this. But oh well, that's okay too. We'll move on. Bring it up. Where is it? Well, I didn't have a whole lot to say tonight. And I'm at almost the 2 hours, and I did an hour earlier. The more gold, yeah. Well, I'll disagree that just depends on the quality of the diamonds. That's all. Now, when you get VS1 diamonds, yes, they are worth more. Now, that's why I wanted to show a ring, and I'm not sure. I wanted to show you guys a lab created ring, and like I want to show this lab, and my point was there's a lab created ring. Well, let me see if I can. And it's not VS1. I mean, it's just the weirdest of the weird. It's not. It's like a. It's a sold by Macy's, and it's not a VS1 diamond. So, what is the point of a lab created diamond if I can't have a VS1 diamond? I mean, isn't that the point that I want the clearest diamond I can afford? But here you are. You're saying it's lab created, but you're gonna create it in the low quality lab created because it's not the expense of a VS1 compared to a SI1 is not going to be that greater when you're lab created diamond. As far as uh, what the cost of them producing the diamond compared to what they can charge you for. That's all I'm saying. And gosh, I am like, is this it? Do I need to get here? Oh, maybe. It's not giving me what I want for some reason. It's kicking me. Yeah. Oh well. Is it here? Here. Nope. Oh well. Doesn't matter. So I'll get it together next time I come on, which will be tomorrow night, and let you guys. I'll put it better. I'll put the files better, and let you guys help me decide. But just wanted to bring some points about them too. Again, if you're, I'll say this about if anybody's getting married, and I've said this before. There's nothing wrong with getting married, and even certifying with the state. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that at all, because in everybody's eyes, we are married, and that's how it should be, because the backbone of civilization is marriage, and that's what they've tried to attack, and that's what the women's movement did, especially for melanated people. I mean, when they started putting melanated people in, they took them off the fields of the South, and everybody migrated to Chicago. What did they start doing? They started building projects. So you took the Indian out of the field where they were agriculture, they're specialists, and then you put them in these concrete jungles and you put them in the factories. Because leading up, again, they needed the manpower in the factories. So that's why at Ford and most of the factories, they weren't segregated. Even when in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, they weren't segregated because, most of the GM factories, Henry Ford, they was just taking anybody. They was letting anybody come up in there as long as they was working. So it wasn't until, the 60s when they started going after the family and telling you they don't want the father in the house at all. If you want Section 8 and you want welfare, you can't have the man in the house. And that goes into the movie Claudine, where they were showing you that you could not show any gain of life. Like, you could not show any benefit. Like, these welfare workers, Claudine is great. It shows the one scene where they had bought a black and white TV, a portable black and white TV. I don't think at any time those TVs was ever over $30. Back then, those TVs was probably $10, $15. They had to hide it. They had to hide the color TV. They had to hide the black and white TV. They had to hide the toaster, and they had to hide the iron. Because if anything, if that social worker came into their house and saw anything above what the government had gave them, they would sanction them and take away their benefits. And if you had a man that worked, you were definitely kicked off, no matter how much that man made. And then we have the attack on making you think that melanated people was the most on welfare. You have them set up what Ronald Reagan called a welfare queen, when in fact, the most people that was on welfare when Ronald Reagan was president was European people. But what did TV tell you? See, they want to tell you that we are only 12%, but at one point they wanted to tell you we were the most people on welfare, 12% population. And I believe this until 1989, when I had a contract with a welfare office. And every now and then I would fill in for one of my guys. I remember one day I had one guy gone for about a week, and I had to work every day to take his place. And I saw nothing but Europeans for a week. And I'm like, wait a minute. TV is telling us that melanated people are on welfare queens. They're getting rich on welfare. They can do welfare fraud. But all I'm seeing is these Europeans coming into Battle Creek, Michigan, Calhoun County. So how is what I'm seeing on TV comparable to this? But that's the lie they told. They wanted to make you think that every black person that was on welfare was frauding, getting rich on welfare, because they showed one lady. So that's propaganda. That's propaganda. And all you got to do is watch The Great Whites of West Virginia. Watch that show. You think there's Europeans is all living the life? It's Europeans just as much misery as melanated people. And I think the saying that the Europeans are 70% in America dominance, I think that's a lie too. I think the numbers are well below that. The organization, yeah, it's a lot of Europeans organized, no doubt about that. More organized than anybody else. But saying these numbers are so great, yeah, that's just a lie. The disparity has never been as big as they've always claimed. But again, I'm, semantics. I'm getting into who I was personally seeing on welfare every day. Because you know what they got to do? They got to sign the book and put in their case number. And out of a 5-day study, I saw nothing but Europeans. And Battle Creek's a town of roughly 50,000 people. And it was, again, the county. It wasn't just the city, it was the county, Calhoun County. It's kind of eye-opening. It's kind of eye-opening. And it was hard to believe if you didn't see it, because that's not what the propaganda tells you. And what did Governor Engler do? He was the one that says, well, if you're not working, we're going to try to make you work. And do you know that, and this is a fact, they can make a person on welfare do slavery. They can make you take a job under training and not pay you, at least in this state. In this state, they can force you to take a job if you're on welfare and not pay you and have it under the guise of training. Now, you'll still get your welfare payments, but you will not get paid for that 40 hours a week. The 40 hours a week or whatever they'll make you work, you will get paid through your welfare payments, saying we paying your insurance and we're paying you this stipend. And this is one time where they can make you work like a slave. That's the law in this state. And I remember seeing that law in Michigan too. And Michigan is, I'll say this, Michigan has the worst benefits of any state. It's like one of the worst places to live in America. I mean, as far as what the state does for the people, it is like one of the worst states in America to live. On what the opportunities for people. There's not a lot of great opportunities in Michigan. I mean, it's a place to stay away. It's a place to visit, but the place to live, I just don't know how people live there. The things my brother tells me all the time, the things he's got to fight. With 3 handicapped children, he has to fight this government hand and tooth. Shouldn't be like that. Person on welfare with 3, not on welfare, excuse me, a person with 3 handicapped children. He shouldn't have to fight anything for their benefits. In this state, they'll give you rides to and from your doctor's appointments. Michigan doesn't do that. If you have a handicapped child in this state and they need a ride back and forth to school or their appointments, this state would gladly take you every day. Every day. If you have a handicapped child that goes to school, they will come and pick him up and take him to school every day. Michigan won't do that. They won't provide that. So that's just how it is. That's just how it is. So something to consider. A place to visit, but I don't know a place to, try to provide a future unless you have your own business and, you have a niche there. You want to go where you can make real money. And people up here in this state can make money. This is a great state to make money. I mean, almost everyone I know makes $100,000 or more. Almost everybody, my children, everybody. It's fairly common to make $100,000 now. It's fairly common. It's like what used to be considered 25,000 years ago. I remember I was up for a assistant college coach job, and it was like 25 grand. And remember, that's 500 a week. It's like Western Michigan had assistant coaching open, and that was like I was up for it, one of the assistant coaching jobs at the time. And it was like 25. And I was thinking, well, I wasn't hustling anymore, but it was still that 25,000. And now that's equal to 100,000. So, I mean, look at all these $500,000 homes. You have $100,000 cars. I mean, how much money do you think you got to make to own, to have a chance to have any of this, the American dream? And it's just, it's ridiculous, the car notes. The price of these cars, 100,000, 110. And you seeing people pay this stuff. It's like, how, I don't know. When their car is much cheaper. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. If I've got money, I still want to buy the most practical thing. And I know if I buy a car from Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Volkswagen, those parts are going to cost me more when the car breaks down. Now, some people say, well, if you got the money to buy the car, okay, if I pay $100,000 for Escalade, American made, compared to buying the top truck of BMW, to buying the top Audi, to buying the top Land Rover, the parts are way cheaper for that Cadillac. Or if I bought a Navigator. So to me, that's a no-brainer. Why would I want to pay knowing that if the car breaks down, I'm going to have to pay almost double? To me, that makes no sense. Yet you see it over and over again. That makes no sense. And I mean, working people. Working people. The gas will cost what the gas costs, no matter how much money you make. They used to, during the COVID, they were saying that, rich people, it didn't matter how high, how low it went. Rich people was going to pay for whatever. It didn't matter. And they were trying to shame everybody because it's like rich people don't care about getting the price of gas. That's how they're trying to shame Americans by talking about that. Well, rich people don't care about how they're going to pay whatever. It's not that we're not going. And I said this summer. I said this during COVID. It's not that the normal people aren't willing to pay whatever, because normal people are willing to pay whatever. But it's the game that's played on the people. That's the part. The way the inflation is put upon the people. And to say the government had nothing to do with it is just ridiculous. And try to say, well, it was the other guy. That's ridiculous. I mean, we're living in tough times. I mean, we've got an active war. Well, war ain't never went away. Since the Bushes and Clintons was in the office and Obama, the war ain't never went away. Don't forget, there's still a war in Syria. So the war ain't never went away. They just don't talk about the war in Syria as much as they talk about the other one they sending your tax money to. They won't put police officers in every school, but yet they'll send these hundreds of millions to this entertainer's country. He's president, but he was a comedian. It's like electing Jay Leno to president. You elected a comedian to president. You elected an actor. So what do you think he still is? He's still an actor. Just because they put combat boots on him don't make him anything different than an actor, a comedian. And you have allowed your tax money to go over there, and ain't nobody in the streets arguing about that. I mean, these Democratic people went in there, and you look at D.C., there's fences up. They want to blame someone else for all those fences being up. When in reality, as the Democrats started taking control, they put all them fences up. And what did they say? What it is when the people become afraid of the government should be afraid of the people. They should be, because the power is with the people. But now we're afraid of the government. And they're so much afraid of us, they got to barricade themselves in what used to be just a place they were proud of. And if you think that stuff came from Trump on the pre-election stuff, that was all scripted, all of it, scripted from both sides, so they could put all them fences up in there because they don't want any part of the real American people. Because you know how up to that point, do you know how many people were calling for, and I said this before, I said every man, woman, and child should have went to D.C. and shut D.C. down by population, by putting so many free people up there. And that was the idea of the Martin Luther King thing, was to immobilize D.C. But then the government got into it, and the government said, well, we don't want to mobilize D.C., because remember what Operation Gridlock was in Michigan. They shut down Lansing by bringing all the trucks in the city. They shut this capital down. So that was the aim of what the Poorman's Porters wanted to do. They wanted to shut D.C. down so they can negotiate some rights for the people, not go, as Malcolm X called it, from one dead president to the other. That wasn't the goal of the march. Then Farrakhan, again, the goal was not to shut D.C. down. And let's not forget, Farrakhan was holding dollar baskets out. They was passing them around the crowds. So the Million Man March, what was it for? You had 1 million black men. They had the chance to shut the government down. Let's get some real things done. Take all the 1 million people, put them in the Capitol. Shut it down peacefully. Peacefully shut it down. Say this doesn't work. All your corruption doesn't work. You got Pelosi dropping all these stocks when you know things are changing. We got the manipulated gasoline prices. If 3 weeks ago the prices was $60 a barrel, why am I seeing in this state $3.19, $3.20 something? Gas is done on futures. So what happened 3 weeks ago, I pay attention to. I should be paying $2 and something from the price 3 weeks ago. But no, they're price gouging. And this is done all over the country. They price gouge the most in California. And I don't know how y'all live out there either. That's another place. I do not know how y'all live out there. Because the warm weather seems to be a curse too. Because again, it's easy to be homeless when it's warm weather. It's hard to be homeless when it's cold like it is up here. And we've had 6 months of winter. So these people can have, they can have propane furnaces and they can live in tents outside. That's a hard life. Propane costs something. To live in a tent, to pump, But out there where it never rains, it never gets cold, it's easy to live outside. And it's surprising people didn't do it before. Again, that's what Charles Manson was for. The lie of the Manson thing, and that's why they made that movie, to show you it was a lie. It was all actors involved. Sharon Tate was still alive. She never was pregnant. They cut her belly. That was all a lie. All that was a lie. To stop people from the communes. Meet people moving off the grid in the 60s. So they scared everybody. Bring you back in. We don't want you to grow your own food. And that's what a lot of people did. A lot of people wasn't into the anti-war stuff. Because that's why the Charles Manson tried to tie it into all that. A lot of people was taking them free lands, them abandoned lands, and they started squatting on them lands. We don't want nothing to do with you. We're going to educate our children, homeschool our children. We're going to grow our own food. Just leave us the fuck alone. We'll create our own electricity, our own water. Y'all leave us alone. That's what Charles Manson tried to stop. That's what the government used Charles Manson for. To get them people out of the deserts. Bring them back into the cities. You can't be free out there. If you're like that, we think you're a cult like Manson. That's how they made that illegal. So if you believe all these actors, and that's why Tarantino made that movie, to show you how ridiculous the story is. It's just a ridiculous story that's propaganda by the government. Ooh, the oil companies can sell for $2 a gallon and still make a profit. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Leonard. Exactly. So this is what we face. This is what we face. And this is where, historically we dropped the ball. And that's why, all these actors, as I was saying, the Million Man March was nothing. It was nothing. It was a money grab. And I would always call Farrakhan that man in Chicago when I'm arguing with my cousin. That was like, that fraud in Chicago. Because again, he's a fraud. He's a fraud. Farrakhan is a fraud. And I don't care who makes him mad. I've studied the Nation of Islam. I was kind of in the Nation of Islam, especially the one in Kalamazoo. I was going to the mosque in Kalamazoo. I've been to the one in Chicago. When I was a senior in high school, I started going to the Nation of Islam. Okay? And I quickly learned them other dudes was frauds. This was a fraud. Nothing was left to him. The government made Wallace D. Muhammad, whatever his name is now, give that to Farrakhan. The government wanted black Muslims. Because black Muslims had disappeared when Elijah Muhammad died. Farrakhan didn't get shit. Farrakhan was left out. He wasn't no relative. He wasn't a son. He wasn't given nothing. And then poof, he's given all the Chicago properties. That's how it happened. Black Muslims was dead. So who wanted the black Muslims? The government. Controlled opposition. And that's what all it all was. When they looked at what do they call him? Drew Ali. When they murdered him. Farrakhan and the other dude, Farad, whatever his name was. They just took their place. But they was backed by the government. Elijah Pooh had been in prison in Georgia. He gets out of prison, goes to Chicago. They see Drew Ali, who again, you believe in him. Come on, you ain't did your studying. This dude was a vaudeville magician. Noble Drew Ali. You can find out who he was. He was a magician, a vaudeville magician. And so but there is some positive things that he did do. So it's like everything. It ain't one story. There is some things he did, but Elijah Muhammad and that dude he took it from, whatever his name, Farad, he says he just disappeared. And then Ali's wives tell you, well, I knew him. He lived in New Jersey. And if you read The Killer of Malcolm X, Hagen's book, Hagen tells you that dude lived in New Jersey. That's what Hagen says. He's like, oh, yeah, that guy ain't dead. That guy lives in New Jersey. Hagen says this. Malcolm X, one of Malcolm X's shooters or whatever. He tells you that if you remember that book, that was a lie. That it's just a power grab by Elijah Muhammad. So, and that's why then they give you the some real stuff, but if they're government controlled, what's real? What's real is what the government wants them to put out. But I think I'm gonna go, guys. I'm over 2 hours. Thank you. Now I want to show you my thriftiness. Now I know you guys like my fine threads, but this polo top cost me $40 at Marshall's. $40. Normally $125. The pants are still $125. Now I got the Timberwolves warm-ups that the team wears. The same shit. Cost me less than $100. And I got to pay to get the bottoms, $125. Still kind of frugal, guys. So it's hard for me to pull that trigger when I only pay $40 for this. It's hard for me to say the pants are worth more than this. But if I want to match the outfit, I got to do it. I'm just having fun, y'all. I'm just having fun. Thank you again for the support. Thank you for the participation in there. I'm working every day to try to learn more and more, and I still don't know why my pictures didn't come out. I did something to close them off, but that's all right. Every day is trying to get better and better and putting this information out. And thank you. Gosh, I might let me see if I can look this up. I got something funny to put out. Let me see if I can get this. Let's see. I might can close with this if I can find it. Where is it? Where is it? Where did I put it? Let's see if it's here. Ah, yes. Okay, see if. Okay. How long is this one? Ah, this is the one. Okay. Wait. I want to stop it. Okay, it's quick. So I'm going to end it with this. Okay. This has been the Chocolate Mountain Show. I've been your main man from Japan, Big Pontiac. Till we meet again, say less. Let's see. Look at the Look at this bug. Oh, oh. Watch this. Look at him sticking his tongue out. He getting it. Get that work in, Smokey. Get that work in. Y'all know y'all want to go to Treasure Island to see this goofy. Ah.